Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are currently watching. You guys usually know this is Morning Mimosas, but this is not a Morning Mimosas episode, so this is a collaborative episode. But before I get into all of that, I'm the host of one of the podcasts. You guys know me, Holly Sisa, host of the Morning Mimosas podcast, and this gentleman is.
My name is Christopher Ellis, and I am the host, the owner of the LikeMinds Podcast, all about elevation, motivation, and inspiration for your mental. Nice to meet everybody.
Guys, today's episode is going to be an interesting one because it is the panel episode. And today we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence and lack thereof. Guys, in the minority communities, emotional intelligence is something that unfortunately we do not see too much of. And today we brought just a few men and women to just talk about that. But before we do that, let's give our guests a proper welcome to the show. We're going to welcome them like this.
Hey, all the homies online.
Episode. I'm gonna go around the room, well, the virtual room, and everybody just introduce yourselves and what you do. Let's not all go at once, but let's at least start. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. It is the host with the most, the face that runs the place, and the voice of choice. I'm the host of the Unwrapped Mind podcast, Hezekiah Grice, broadcasted live from nowhere.
Sure. I am Otissa Harrison, co-host of the Fake Therapy podcast, also a part-time polarina and full-time crocheter. But yeah, coming to you live from Indiana.
Love it.
All right, good morning.
Next.
My name is. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Coates. I'm a certified self-awareness coach. I've been practicing self-awareness with myself for about 23 years now. I also work in about 6 different mental health facilities, ranging from schizoaffective disorders all the way to eating disorders, major depression. Do a lot of work with suicide prevention as well. And I have been in mental health for about 15 years now.
Love it. Last but not least.
Good morning, everybody. I'm coming from Buffalo, New York. I am a registered nurse, entrepreneur, and I am excited to be here. So I've been a nurse for almost 12 years.
Love it, love it, love it. So, as we all know, we're here to talk about emotional intelligence and lack thereof. So, who wants to start with what the definition of emotional intelligence is? Because a lot of people don't know what that is. Anybody?
I didn't know it'd be a
Nobody?
quiz. So from what I gathered,
Hey.
emotional intelligence is being able to understand like social situations, the people around you, how they're feeling, being aware of like the energy that you're giving. At least that's like a summary of when I was doing like my research and coming to like my own understanding of what emotional intelligence is.
Thank you for that description. Now, when it comes to emotional intelligence, how do you each practice that?
For me, I would say experience. because a lot of times when you are working with people, whether you're at work and then you're at home and dealing with your family or friends, sometimes you don't understand or realize how you are being perceived or how you're perceiving them. So I feel like the experience with dealing with other people has given me the opportunity to be intelligent, emotional.
I agree. I think it's experience and awareness. It goes back to that age old saying, treat people how you want to be treated. I always know how I feel and how I want to be treated in a situation. So when anybody's expressing their emotions or look or appear to have something going on, I take them just as serious as I want to be taken. Right? You can't say it's a small thing. There's no small things, not to anybody. So I always treat people that way.
I want to add on to it, as what my man's just said. Uh, I really believe it's understanding and compassion. And once you combine those two things, because we all have, like, we're all human beings. We're all, we all have emotions. So having that, having compassion and understanding for somebody else's struggle, again, no matter how big or small it is, that I believe is emotional intelligence in its best capacity. It's like having that human act, actually understand somebody else's feelings and then potentially apply and move into those feelings helps in every regard possible. So
Anybody else want to chime in?
Yeah, for me, emotional intelligence um, that I've had to develop and learn for myself was really through awareness, um, recognizing when I was sad, when I was angry, and understanding the cause of those emotions. Um, and there's levels to it, recognizing, understanding, then being able to express it. And the true vulnerability is really essential. And that's something that I see a lot in the mental health facilities that I work in is the inability to recognize that they're experiencing sadness, anger, or even apathy. Um, and then also knowing how it plays into their behaviors. I truly believe that our thoughts and our emotions drive the way we behave, at least from my personal experience.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Chris, you have any questions for our panel right now?
not right now, as I want to get more to the conversation. I'm pretty sure those questions will come up as we go along. I already know more with Kevin, but definitely will have some questions on, not right now.
Okay. Well, I have a question pertaining to relationships and emotional intelligence. So this question is for the men. um, so this is not all men, but this is just what I've seen. You guys know I'm a criminal justice major, and I look into a lot of cases pertaining to missing men, women, children, and etc. But I want to know, why is it that when a relationship ends with a man, why is it that he's not able to move on and practice emotional intelligence? Why does he end up like threatening the girlfriend or do crazy shit against her, or things of that nature? I know you guys, for the most part, I think y'all gentlemen on here aren't like that, but from y'all's perspective, why are men like, why are they not able to control their feelings when it comes to stuff like that?
I'll go ahead and start that one. When it comes to a man, especially a black man, when we are in a relationship, when we are truly into that woman, when we are truly dived into those emotions, you can't just turn those off. Now, some men just don't know how to control those feelings because, let's be honest, they never had the opportunity to. Especially in our childhood, especially if you raised by, the black mama, the grandma, the auntie, it's man up, get over it, just get through it, because that's the way that we were taught. So when we're in those relationships and we are actually that giving, it's harder for us to even bounce back in those situations because we don't normally get into those periods. Vulnerability is not our thing. And so, yeah, I mean, there's two sides to every story. So a man's reaction is probably a woman's cause. I'm not saying that's in every case, but that's in some cases. Either she did something to him or he did something to her, and they just don't know how to handle it. But for my experience, I can't speak on any other person, but for my experience, we get really tied in, we get really deep into those, and we definitely get heartbroken, and it's harder for us to bounce back just because we. Huh? I'm sorry, I thought I heard something.
Yeah, me too.
It's harder for us to bounce back because we don't normally do that anyway. So if we let our guard down with you, something happens, yeah, we're gonna lose it. Especially if we don't know how to. Especially if we don't know how to come back strong. That's just my thing.
Okay. Thank you for your perspective. That was interesting. What about the other two gentlemen on the panel?
All right, and I'll
What do
add
y'all
on.
have to
I'll add
say
on to what
about that?
Chris was saying. The real truth of it is, and Chris hit on it. Men love hard, and I know we don't get the credit for loving hard, and people don't think we love hard. I can't speak in when you say like go into that abusive stage of it, but I will say as a man, and like Chris said, when you're taught as a man, as a young man, as a boy, you don't hold your feelings in. You hold your feelings in for your whole life, and you meet that one person that says, please be vulnerable with me. Please laugh, share, cry, be everything. And then it's whatever, for whatever reason it's over, you can't unring that bell, at least not immediately. Like you can't break the floodgate and then say it's over, repair yourself, because we're shattered. We're thrown against the wall and we're broken. We want, I'm not gonna say we because I'm not one of those guys, but I hate this phrase, but they want closure. The one thing that women want. The same reason women do the same reason women slash tires, burn clothes. They want some kind of closure. That man wants closure. I broke up with you because I'm sick of your ass is not closure for a man. Why ain't I man enough for you is a burning question in every man when a woman walks away. Why am I not man enough for you? What is he doing better? Tell me what I did wrong. And all we get is leave me alone, Tyrone. I don't want to talk to you, Tyrone. And he's begging to say, what did I do wrong? For two reasons. He really don't know what he did wrong. And the second reason, he probably don't want to repeat that mistake when and if he allows himself to love again. But to just walk up to a man and say, we're over, and not tell him why, he's begging to know why. Has anybody ever took a test and they said you failed and didn't tell you what questions you failed? And then once you take that test over, and you like, well, I don't know what questions I missed, so how am I going to pass this test? That's what a guy is kind of emotionally going through. Like, I don't know what I did wrong. And maybe he does or he doesn't. I'm not really that sure, but maybe I don't know what I did wrong. And you want me to pick myself up, repair myself, and possibly go back into this again. That's so hard for a guy. Like, I know right now where I'm at in my marriage, as open as I am with myself, if my wife just said, hey, we're out of here, a couple like late night phone calls. I don't drink, but they'd be sober. What I do wrong, baby? Please talk to me. Every time I go get my kids, I'd be asking questions. I wouldn't go crazy, but I would want to know what I did wrong. Where did we go wrong? I think that's the conversation kind of needs to be had with people, not just leave my ass alone because I'm sick of you. And men just kind of they crumble like everybody else.
Okay. Kevin, do you have anything to input with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of what the gentleman said. Men, even little boys, were trained and hardwired to suppress before regulate. And so when we're suppressing, throughout our childhood into those teenage years, and then you get into the early adult years, your 20s, to go through big heartbreaks when you've given a certain level of vulnerability, it can really shatter you, especially when you suppress for so long and you don't give people who you are. I also believe that it has a lot to do with values. Most of us don't learn what values are or what our values are until later in life. And I tell my kids when I give my speeches, learn them now, get close to them now, and especially the value of respect, because it goes both ways. And when we don't respect ourselves, it's really hard to respect somebody else, especially in intimate relationships. And so I know I went through this. I didn't have respect for myself. So a lot of the times I didn't care if I was going to live or die in a certain situation. And I didn't value myself in my life. And we bring that into all of our relationships, whether it's work related, intimate, family. And so not having that mental training and that conditioning of, hey, I'm sad now, as opposed to waiting 3-4 weeks holding on to something in your relationship, then you're just going to blow up. So being able to express and be whole with who you are and trust that this person you committed to is going to hold you no matter what, mentally or physically. It takes a lot of energy, but if you haven't had to practice, especially through your parents, if you haven't seen them do it, if they haven't modeled it, if you don't have that caregiver in your life, you're going to struggle with it. It's going to be a hard thing, and it's going to be one hell of a learning as you get into your older years.
It's gonna give you the poetry snaps for that. But okay. All right. All y'all three brothers had some really good points, and I definitely learned something from you guys. So that same question will be asked to the ladies. Um, why is it that us women can't control ourselves in those same type of situations as men?
So I would say for me, part of what
We can't hear you. Well, I can't hear you.
You going in and out, babe.
is that better or no?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I was saying like just to piggyback motion. I feel like for me growing up and being in a relationships, I was never really shown how to communicate effectively. If I felt a certain way, if I was angry, sad, mad, whatever, um, I reacted instead of really processing things and really being able to discuss how I was feeling without, you know, getting angry or showing those people like, hey, you hurt me, but I'm not gonna tell you hurt me, so I'm gonna be angry about it and lash out or whatever. As I got older, I realized that that's not the way to go about things, and it's okay to be vulnerable. And I feel like that was one of the things that you growing up, you did not want anybody to know that you were sad or you were hurt or you were upset because the person that you were in a relationship with did those things to you. So you want to play the tough guy. So of course, if you do things out of this reaction to whatever they said or did to you, then it doesn't look like you're the weak person. So I feel like, being able to really recognize those actions and those feelings and being okay with saying it's okay to be vulnerable, it's okay to feel upset, and ask those questions, like, hey, what's the problem? What did I do? Instead of taking it as a negative thing. Oh, well, they said I did this, this, and this, so I'm a horrible person. I feel like, you know, being more accepting of constructive criticism or accepting of things that I'm doing, being more accountable. I think those are the things that I didn't have in my early adult years being in relationships. Because again, I had two parents in my life. However, they did not show the most positive relationship when it came to a marriage and relationship. So I feel like throughout my adulthood, that was a huge challenge for me.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, same with what Makita said. Pretty much, I think from what everybody was saying, like I think it all stems from childhood and what you have been shown. And unfortunately, a lot of us have not seen healthy relationships. We've seen like only the destructive ones, and then also like when it comes to media and everything too, like they show you these relationships in which you have to go through hell, you know what I'm saying, before you get to being at peace with one another and all that good stuff. So it's like all about like our environment and what we're taking in or what's been fed to us. I know I used to be a destructive little individual, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't good with showing vulnerability. Showing vulnerability made you weak, in my opinion, at that time, and things of that nature. And so like, but if it's like, if you're not letting your sadness feel sad, it instantly just turns to anger. And so it was just, it was very destructive in how I would carry on. And then I had to learn or I looked up one day and was like, I have a lot of bad relationships. Like, what's up with that? And so I had to do some self-awareness. And I think, people just struggle with like looking inward. They don't want to look inward. You know what I'm saying? Looking inward means that something's wrong with you. And it's like, that's not necessarily the case. It just means that there may be some adjustments that may need to be done. And so now I'm more aware of when I'm in situations and I can feel like my chest getting tight. It's like, okay, first I'm making sure that my face does not give it away that my chest is getting tight. And then I make sure that I don't say nothing out my mouth, because it's just like, those are the two things where it's just like, it could instantly take a situation worse than where it even needed to go. So, grace is very important this day and age, like, especially when you learn that everybody doesn't have like solid, healthy foundations. It's like, you know what? You gotta be patient with people. We be thinking that adults, because they're adults, they should know it already, but it's like, adults are really just big kids, and if you haven't, and if you weren't raised right, then what do you expect? So, but yeah, no, I think that's kind of like what's going on.
Okay. Well, I thank everybody for speaking on that perspective. Chris, do you have a question for the panel now?
Not quite yet. I'm still diving in. I wanna hear more responses. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna.
Holly, I did want to add something to the conversation.
Sure.
I don't want to get too scientific because I do a lot of research on the human brain and child development. I read all the books and everything, but I know for sure a lot of the times, especially in our communities, the Black communities, we don't have a certain intellect to understand that the human brain is like a sponge, and whatever you put inside of it or around it is going to soak it up. And so if you witnessed abuse, verbal abuse in your household, or even that kind of communication style, a lot of profanity, a lot of cussing and shit like that. And on another note, you may know this, Howdy. I don't know, but the brain doesn't stop developing until you're 26, and that is right behind your forehead, prefrontal cortex. All that means is logic, discernment, self-awareness, rationale. We're all going to be delayed in that because the emotional brain develops first. The brain develops back to front. So when we ask our teenagers, why did you do that? And we're expecting them to think rationally. Well, that brain doesn't stop developing until they're about 26. Now, if you take that same brain and you put a lot of trauma on top of that, you put a lot of stress on top of that, that's going to inhibit and stunt the actual growth and neural connections in that brain. And they're going to misfire to a severity that some people can be just developmentally delayed. And then you also have chronological age versus psychological age. Chronologically, I'm 36. Psychologically, I could be older or younger. So these are things that, unless you go and seek this information, or if you're really, I don't know, I guess a geek about it like I am, because I work so heavily in it, I just want to understand who's in front of me and how I can meet them where they are. So those are just some key things to factor in with emotional intelligence as well.
Can I chime in on that? Because that's such a good point, because being a nurse and working in this field is definitely, I can agree 100%. I've worked in a psych unit. I've worked in different avenues of nursing, and also with your own personal trauma, when the things that you deal with on a work basis, I'm really like two people. When you go to work, you have to be a certain way. You have to handle things a certain way. And then at home, you kind of like carrying all of that's on you, because sometimes you don't know how to process everything. And I feel like as I was in my early 20s until now going into approaching being 40, it is a definite difference. It's a difference of knowing that, hey, why did you do something? Because it's things that I think about. Why did I do that? Why did I do that at this age? And again, if I was exposed to any trauma, did I have anything going on in this particular stage of my life? And I have really sat down and then a lot of self-awareness and the self reflection on some of the things that I have done in my life. Um, as nurses, we are told and taught to be this compassionate person, empathetic person, but nurses, I'll just say, I love being a nurse, but I feel like a lot of times being in the field, we are taught to just be in, like the feelings and the compassion and emotions that are behind a lot of the things of patients dying, people getting sick. It's like we have to put that behind us because we can't show emotion. We can't show that we're sad or hurt about a patient dying or a patient being sick. And I have experienced this so many times where it was like you are completely numb to the situation. So when you come home and you're dealing with real life stuff or you're dealing with emotions from families, relationships, kids, whatever, it's sometimes you have to like snap back into reality where you like, oh shoot, maybe I should react to this or maybe I should be more compassionate about this. Whereas some instances where you're not. And it's like because I'm so programmed in this field to just not be sad or cry or whatever, like somebody could die, okay, you're fine the next day, like nothing ever happened.
That's why I respect your profession so much, because with all I've been through with the death of my child, like, learning emotional intelligence was really, really, really hard for me. I'm barely getting it down packed at 32 years old. So thank you guys so much for sharing that. So emotional intelligence, when it comes to our community. So we all think, for the most part, it stems from generational traumas, for the most part, right? Or from what we learned from our parents. Now, how do we break the generational trauma pertaining to emotional intelligence? I know you guys may have spoke on it, but I want us to get a little bit deeper into it so the viewers can hear. How do we literally break that generational trauma when it comes to emotional intelligence?
I want to start that if I can. Um, Two things, really, and it's going to sound kind of weird, but number one, separation. Um, I'm not going to necessarily say like just isolate yourself from everybody and everything, because of course you need human interaction to actually learn and practice those things. But I guess like the better term would be meditation, and manifestation, because uh, having that balance of your inner self, and having your emotions regulated by you and how you move, anything can be thrown at you and you will be just fine. But number two is consistency. This is a constant thing, and now like there's no stoppage at this point. Like I'm gonna have emotional intelligence by 30. I'm gonna do this by 35. I'm gonna be here by 40. Like this is something. This is a everlasting journey. So I truly do believe in some form of isolation to get you right. If also that means cutoff. If that means family, that means friends, that means the best friend that you know for 20 years, who just was out of bounds one time. Whatever you got to do, because your mental health is priority number one, and especially if you got other I guess quote unquote circumstances. If you got kids, you got people dependent on you. You can't just act out. So if you have to separate yourself, then all means do it. And you don't owe anybody that explanation for that separation. You can get out whenever you choose to. But that's just my take.
I want to piggyback on that because I think this was a huge stage for me. Separation was a huge challenge for me because I've always been the, oh well, just 20 years and that's or whatever. But when I got to a point of my peace was being compromised more than I wanted it to be, I had to take some major take setbacks. Like, hey, I'm not mentally ready to deal with this. I need to separate myself. this person does not sit well with me. Their energy is not, conducive for my environment that I'm in right now. They have to go. And it was okay because it was a hard time for me to separate that because I didn't want to let go of whatever the history relationship, whether it's a friendship, family, or an actual romantic relationship. So I feel like now it's so much easier for me to cut people off, as they say, because I rather be free. I rather feel happiness. I don't want to feel sad or feel stressed or upset because again, I'm a mother as well. So I reflect all of that energy onto my child if I'm not in a peaceful state. So I feel like being more mindful of the things that are going on around you makes it a lot easier to separate yourself from that negative behavior or negative feeling that you may have about something.
All right, I'm gonna jump in on this. Because when you speak generational, I don't just see me, I see people in front of me. But it's openness and awareness. Like me, anybody who knows me, I'm so open about my emotions, and I'm a cuss a lot. I'm sorry, I cuss. I'm grown. If I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna tell you I don't give a fuck. If I'm not gonna fuck with you, I'm
Okay.
not gonna fuck with you. I'm gonna look you dead in your face. I really not gonna care about your feelings as I tell you about mine, because like you said, my peace is more important.
Okay.
And two, I want to be aware of like my children. I let them know I'm aware of their feelings. It's never like I've learned it's not the big me. My children's feelings are important. When my kids are sad, when they're angry, hey, if you mad, let's sit down and talk about you being mad. I can accept that because kids ain't gonna say nothing to me that's gonna shock me. Unless they tell me, hey, you know what? They killed somebody last night. I'm willing to accept what they're gonna say to me, and then we'll deal with it moving forward. Now I'm not like, the eight is enough or Uncle Phil type of dad. We deal with stuff in reality, but I want them to know that they can have anger, sadness, happiness, joy, grief, whatever those emotions is, and they're accepted in our house. I don't want them to be like, hey, you can't be mad. You can be mad at me. If you're not mad at me as a child and me as a parent, I'm doing it wrong. I want you to be sad. If I go to the hospital, be sad that I'm there. I want you to know that those are okay. If you lose a best friend because your best friend is moving away, be sad. Let's grieve. Let's talk through it. Let's figure it out. Let's acknowledge those feelings. Sometimes, and a lot of parents don't acknowledge their kids' feelings outside of it's gonna be okay. It ain't gonna be okay to that kid. That kid is going through some real type stuff that need to be addressed and acknowledged. So I always acknowledge that. Like I said, for me, I'm so open and real about my stuff. If I'm a cry, y'all gonna see a grown man. I'm 50. If I'm a cry, y'all gonna see a 50-year-old cry. If I'm happy, y'all gonna see me smiling, laughing. I might do what I call the airplane dance, where I just put my hands out like wings and go in little circles. Y'all gonna see every emotion I got because I grew up not having those emotions. I lost a son when I was 20. My father left me when I was 12. My grandfather died when I was 10. I've lost so many people who was important to me in my life. I shut down for years and didn't acknowledge anything. I went to the Marine Corps at 20, and all we learned was to not have emotion. When I cracked my emotions back open, I was like, I'm never bottling this in. And I don't. So be open, be aware, be honest about your emotions. That's how you break that generational curse that we carry and allow to go forth because we don't acknowledge those things. We're not open about
Facts. Facts. He spoke all true stuff.
Any Ooh, wait, I don't even know what to say about that. Anybody want to piggyback off of that greatness?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I believe everyone should take at minimum an hour a week to self-reflect with intention regarding how they feel, what's had them upset, just some kind of moment of self-reflection. They can design it however they want to, but making an hour a week to be intentional about yourself, you do that routinely for a while, you will start to see some changes in how you process information, other people's emotions, um, how much more aware you will become. And I'm biased, that's what saved my life was becoming more self-aware. I had decisions to make. If I was going to sell this drug, no, or if I was going to drink or smoke, all of those things I had to really figure out early on, or I was going to end up dead or in jail. So by getting closer to myself and not running away, even though the pain that we're already in, just know there's more, especially when you self reflect. You're going to discover that there is more pain, there's more to sort through. But that is honestly, you're getting closer and closer to peace. You're getting closer and closer towards the light, out of that darkness. So I 100% agree on the awareness. And also, what I'm hearing my man describe is we all want safety. We all want to feel safe mentally and first for sure, and physically. And if we don't feel safe, we're going to suppress and clam up. And that'll be a habit that we'll carry on for the rest of our lives. And I truly believe that a lot of people don't even know that they're not emotionally intelligent. And so that's why the reflection is so important, because you may just see anger as anger. I'm just expressing how I feel. Really, what it is you're hurt, you're sad. My lady said it, sadness, prolonged sadness becomes really, really aggressive anger over time if it's not addressed. So, yeah, to me, it's just through awareness, set that time aside and just really getting closer to that discomfort, that, oh, I don't like how I feel. That's where you want to be. Otherwise, you're just going to keep repeating the same energy and honestly bringing in the same toxic people and experiences in your life.
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Yeah. And I think it's time that we stop living in insanity. Oh, sorry, y'all. Anyway, but
I had a question.
ooh,
Um,
go
how
ahead.
do you guys feel about social being either pro or con with emotional intelligence? Just give me an example of each.
I think it's bullshit. I don't think social media. I don't think social media can help. I want to speak for me. It's not going to help me emotionally anyway, or because if you're like me, you're not putting your real life on. No, I seldom put my real life on social media. Like 99.9% of the stuff I put on social media, if you think it's real, please wake the hell up. Every now and again, because I deal with mental issues. Like I deal with PTSD, I deal with anxiety, I deal with anger, a lot of stuff. If you see me post something about like that, that's real. But if you see me post something that is not about I went through a mental challenge, it's bullshit. So I personally don't believe 99 to 100% of anything I see on social media unless I know the person. I'm not influenced by outside entities because I don't know you like that. Why? But if it's people I know, like when she posts stuff and I read her little blurbs above her little bubble on chat rooms, I feel sympathy for her because I don't know her, but I know her. So I know she's posting something real and she does it more often than what she thinks she does. But it's a real thing. There, I'm emotionally attached. But when
Mhm.
Brand X does it, I don't care. That's just me.
That's fair. That's fair. No, that's fair. Anybody else?
Yep.
The for whatever reason it cut me off, so I didn't hear the question that you asked.
The question was, how do you see social media being either a pro or a con of emotional intelligence?
So I
If
see social media as a big con. In some instances. I feel like he said, you can't take social media seriously. And I came from an era prior to social media and being in the social media. So it's like it has a huge influence, I think, on people putting on a facade of this wonderful, great life that they live when they really don't live this way, or they're using social media as a outlet to somewhat call for help in a sense, but not make it so that it's in a issue, like it's an issue. For me, like I was telling my cousin the other day, I post a bunch of different things. Um, you would never know exactly what's going on in my life because I post so many relatable things, but at the same time, it doesn't mean it's relatable just to me and just in general. And then I post things like, positivity, things of that nature. So I think it just depends on how you look at social media. Social media sometimes for me is an outlet for laughter, because I would sit and watch videos and I'll be like, oh my God, this internet is so unhinged. And I'll just sit there and crack up and laugh, and then I'll just be like, okay, and then I'll go to the next thing. So I just think you just have to look at how you look at social media and the way it's useful to you. Um, and I also look at social media as networking, because again, I wouldn't be here if I did not have social media. So, I have to look at those things. So I feel like it's a con in some instances, and I feel like it's a pro in instances as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's pretty fair. It's all as you
Hey,
said.
Chris, I wanted to ask.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Go ahead. Kevin. Go ahead.
No, no, you're good. It boils down to intention. Social media is a tool. So how we decide to use it, I mean, we all know that it's based on algorithms, right? You look at one thing, you're gonna get fed that same thing. So if you're looking up physical things to help your self-esteem, it's more likely not gonna boost your self-esteem just by looking at physical attributes of another individual. I personally use it for motivation, inspiration. So my feeds are nothing but things that bring me up, and that's just how I practice my lifestyle day to day. Um, and so my bounce back, or what they call a refractory period, is pretty short. I don't sit in things that are unhealthy for days and weeks on end. And again, it's a mental practice, but uh, to the point of networking, opportunity, it's a tool. It's all on how you use it and your intention. And I think also you just posing this question to us, that hour of self-reflection into self-awareness can be to an individual. How do I use social media? How has it benefited my mental health? You can add that to your 1 hour reflection, and really see what comes up. And so it's all about asking the right question, whether it's to yourself or somebody else. But there's pros and cons, but it really boils down to how we use it, because how we use it is going to mirror back all the information, all the algorithms, and it's going to slowly deteriorate our brain into a place of self-deprecation and self-destruction, especially if we got low self-esteem and we're looking for something outside of us to build us up. Working outside of you just really doesn't. Again, 15 years in mental health, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Appreciate that, man. That's a fair assessment. Thank you. Holly, you got anything?
I just want to go around the room and give our final words on emotional intelligence. I really want to hear from Miss Otessa,
Yes.
because she didn't really say too much today. And I watch her podcast. She has really good points. So I definitely want to.
No, I'm trying to talk. I don't know, but no, I'm just enjoying everybody's responses. For me, like when it comes to social media, I've kind of seen it from the beginning, you could say, you know what I'm saying? So just like I've seen how the intention of it has changed and things of that nature, from really these sites really being for dating purposes to now we're using them as our own personal diaries, or now we're using them to promote our businesses. So, I've seen so many different things. And I know for me, I used to be in the space in which I was, I would call myself a content creator, what have you. And I was out there hustling, trying to chase after it. It's just like now I just look at it more as a information, like Kevin was saying, for motivation. I like to learn. So it's like, I'm really looking towards more so that type of content, because, before, like I said, when you're watching everybody use it as their own personal diary and they're putting out so much negativity. And it's like, if I see like 50 of my friends putting out negativity and I'm already having an off day, like maybe I'm dealing with like my own personal issues, my own things that's going on with work, I just know like that's not gonna help. So it's just like, I've just been making more mindful choices as to what I decide to engage in so that, my spirits will remain high. You know what I'm saying? And like, just to drive it back to your question, I remember earlier you had asked, how do we enhance it? I don't know if the question is how do we enhance it? I think people need to understand like why emotional intelligence is important so that it can just help you like grow. Because frankly, like I feel like a lot of people like they'll say they're aware that they are a certain type of way, but it's like, okay, that's fine that you're a douchebag, but are you actively trying to do anything to fix that? Because it's just like, yes, we do love a person who is blunt and real, but at the same time, does that person grow? Like, does that person get to be a leader? Does that person get to really follow their dreams? Does that person do doors really open for them when they have that type of demeanor around them? And so that's why it's like emotional intelligence is so like more than just like yourself. It's really about like, do you know that you're affecting the room when you're in a room? And do you know that you're affecting the room negatively? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and if you see that you're affecting it negatively, what do you think positively is going to come of that? You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, I think that a lot of people don't realize how important having emotional intelligence is, because it not only is going to help you like, grow as a person, but the world will literally open up to you. Like if you are a considerate person, if you are a person that considers people's feelings, like, and like Hezekiah was saying, if you treat people the way that you would want to be treated, the world is so much prettier for you. It's so much prettier. The sun shines brighter, like it's crazy, but everybody they haven't come to that level yet. And so that's why I think like when it comes to emotional intelligence, it's really, unfortunately, if that person wants to enhance their emotional intelligence. Like I said, like when I saw that I was having all of these relationships around me fail, you know what I'm saying? Like friendships, romantic ones. And it's like, like, and then I had kids and I'm looking at how like I'm making my kids feel like when I'm having these outbursts and things of that nature. It's like, okay, I may be right in how I feel, but I may be wrong in how I'm showing it or how I'm expressing it. And so it's just like, once people come to that realization, unfortunately, a lot of people have to lose a lot to then come to that. Like I said, I'm obviously I'm speaking from that bunch, but I'm grateful that I'm still able to, move forward with the new mindset that I do have. You know what I'm saying? Like some people don't learn that at all. Some people don't, it doesn't pick up for them at all. So it's just like, for me, I just think people need to understand just how important it is and what are the real benefits of just really like, just really like opening your mind and being open-minded, being empathetic, and what that'll get you in life. So
Truth.
She was pretty lame.
Perfect.
She was
I
pretty.
appreciate you. Yeah, she was. I love her. Her and the rest of the people on her pod, they be preaching. Y'all need to really take a listen to their podcast for real. Like that's how I fell in love with her. But let's go around the room with the people who are still here. Hezekiah he had to go because his daughter's doing a tournament. So let's go around the room and let's do our final thoughts about emotional intelligence. What is one final thing that you guys want the viewers to know, understand, and or just take away from today?
I guess I'll start it. As Kevin said, be intentional, self-reflect, and also understand that this is a journey. You are not going to just have it all together by a certain age, by a certain time. Really take the time to understand and keep doing your research, and then put it into action. Keep applying the pressure. Keep applying it every single day. That way, it'll be an easier task to maneuver when something tragic does happen. That's all I got.
Thank you. Who's next? Final thoughts?
Final thoughts on emotional intelligence is it's a humbling experience, but it's a very fulfilling and very worthwhile experience. You are gonna sit back and be like, man, like I was not always my best version of myself. You know what I'm saying? Before I learned being aware, having empathy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't the nicest, I wasn't the kindest, but it's very rewarding. That's the word I was looking for. It's very rewarding. And, it's just, you're going to see everything be better for you. So that's just my tidbit to everybody regarding emotional intelligence and why it's important.
Thank you. Anybody else want to state their final thoughts?
I would say for me, and to everyone there, just to give yourself grace during this journey, because it's extremely important to do that. And I feel like it's okay. You're not gonna get everything right. Nobody's perfect, but you are striving to be a better version of yourself. You are striving to be a happier version of yourself, a peaceful version of yourself. And I just say, just to continue to do as much inner work as you can possibly do, because the journey is not always easy, but it is definitely fulfilling. It is definitely worth it. And I'm appreciative of the journey of going through those things, because I would have not recognized where I am today, mentally, emotionally. So I do just say, do what you can, and continue, be positive and move forward in life, and you'll do great.
That is awesome. What about you, Kevin?
Yeah, I just want to leave the viewers with the notion that as you take on the journey, as Chris said, it's a journey to improve your emotional intelligence. You will also reap the physical benefits. Your body will respond in a healthy way also. You will reduce the amount of stress that you take on by becoming more aware of your emotions. Um, and I also just want people to know that I tell people all the time, you're going to tell me it's hard. You're going to tell me that, it's tiring. And guess what? That's what it's supposed to be, because that's part of the change. We are walking neurochemical cells and all of these other chemicals. Guess what? Some of us are deficient in others. Some of us have more. Just got to stay the course and be consistent, but also trust that as you go along the process, there will be more benefits than the opposite. So start somewhere.
Did we lose him?
I think he cut off.
Probably you're muted.
I know. I realized that. Oh, Kevin, you back?
Yeah, everybody kind of went out. I'm not sure what was the last thing you heard, but
You
I think
you
you
were
were literally
saying?
mid-sentence. Yeah, you were literally just
Yeah,
mid-sentence. I'm so sorry.
About staying the course.
yeah.
Staying the course.
He was on a
oh
roll.
yeah. So I was just saying, to reiterate, it's going to be hard. You got to stay consistent, and you got to trust that this process is going to pay in more of a benefit than anything. It's going to be something better for you, your family, the generations to come after you as you get better at this. And you can break cycles if you truly want to.
That is awesome. So my final word would be, when it comes to emotional intelligence, always remember to put human in humanity. So that's it. But I want to thank you guys so much for being on the panel today. You guys were absolutely awesome. I absorbed so much knowledge today. Totally grateful for every single one of you. Thank you, Chris, for this collaborative episode. Guys, we're gonna get out of here. It's Saturday and we have things to do. So as you guys know, for me, this is Morning Mimosas, where I at least value justice, healing, and education. Chris, go ahead and do your spiel.
uh, Education, motivation, and inspiration for your mental. Everybody has a brain, and so you must do your due diligence to always make sure that you are in top tier shape to handle any challenges in any profession that you choose. Keep striving. That's my spiel.
All righty, guys. We will see you guys later. You guys have a good day.